Hi everyone. I just wanted to share with you today some gardening, which I do enjoy. And I realized in the last couple of videos of myself that I didn't actually introduce myself. So my name is Mary Ellen Black, and I currently care for an elderly parent. And part of that is I look after the garden, and I enjoy gardening, so it is a pleasure. Sometimes, it gets a little unruly, but that's just kind of part of living in Northland because it's subtropical and things grow like crazy up here, and some plants. Yeah, they grow vigorously, but they don't necessarily grow ideally. They send up a lot of green growth and then perhaps don't flower. Anyway, I am just going to give you an overview of what my intentions are for the area that I'm going to take care of, which involves pruning and turning the compost and sort of reviving the vegetable garden. So I'll probably just do the pruning today, sort of a bit of a time constraint at the moment, and then I'll return to the compost and getting sort of some more, well, winter veggies. I mean, the fall. It's a beautiful fall day, autumn day, and it's 18 degrees, so it's not really cold here. I went for a cycle this morning. I do get out on my road bike when I can, just to blow out some cobwebs and kind of reset myself. And yeah, it was kind of brisk out this morning. I mean, it's still only, I don't know, 12, 14 degrees, but by local standards, that's, cooler. I don't even think I haven't even experienced a frost here in the three and a half years that I've been living here caring for this parent. And so yeah, but it's just a great way for me to release and kind of reset myself. And at the moment I'm road riding just because it's convenient door to door. There's not really any mountain bike trails that are just on hand. You have to drive to them. And I'm probably more a cross country mountain biker, not a extreme downhiller. Never was, and certainly am not going to do that at this stage of my life. But I enjoy that too, and actually cycle touring has been a big part of my life, of traveling, and I really enjoy that, and I hope to get back to that at some point. There's a lot of really good off-road routes in New Zealand now that weren't around when I was cycle touring here. The bulk of my cycle touring was around 25 years ago, and but there was half as many cars on the road then as well. So anyway, I'm getting off topic here, but anyway, I just wanted to share with you sort of an area, what my plans are, and so I'll just switch you around. So here I have a Bougainvillea, which I planted maybe a year ago, and it was just a tiny, well, not tiny, tiny, but it was only maybe a foot, 18 inches or half a meter tall, like really not big, and more stick-like like this. But a year later, it's grown into this massive thing. I kind of wanted to espalier it on this fence, and I thought it would be really pretty with it in flower because the fence was just blank. I'll show you, there's some flowers coming out. which I love. They sort of remind me of tissue paper or Japanese, something about Japan. I don't know, it just gives me that vibe. Anyway, unfortunately these ones are going to get cut. And I've done quite a bit of research, but I sort of get a mixed, apparently they like really poor soil, or they're happy in poor soil, and it's best not to cut them frequently because thorns can either become flowers or remain thorns, and apparently if you prune them too much, the thorns are more prolific than the flowers. But I've seen people prune them hard and they seem to flower just fine, so I'm going to go with that method because I need to actually kind of, like, it's going berserk up there and over into the neighbours, which, you know, it's not a big deal, but I kind of want to keep it as a kind of a feature on this wall, on this fence. And then beside it, this is actually growing in the neighbours, is a passion fruit vine, which I've kind of trained over. And there's no fruit on it now, but it was prolific. There was tons of fruit, and I've managed to freeze some of the pulp, the passion fruit pulp. So I'm just going to tidy that up and sort of keep the vine under control, and because it's actually going into the Bougainvillea as well, so don't need that. So that's my plan for today. And so what I'm doing, well, that's the compost to put out, which I'm going to do, and I've got a ladder here just to get up to the fence. Got my loppers and gloves and secateurs and a kneeling pad in case I need to get some things down low, which I find very useful, and it's good to sit on too when the ground's hard. It's not I think it cost me like $3 or $4, and at the garden centre, and it works really well. So along here, got some native shrubbery, which is coming on amazingly well. And then this is the compost area. I'll just go and get the compost. So this is the bin that is getting quite full. And I planted an heirloom tomato here, and a sweet pepper, capsicum. No, well, it wasn't a bell pepper, it was a elongated variety, but no heat to it. Anyway, I need to chop those and cut them up and put them in the compost as well. And then there's another passion fruit vine from the neighbours growing on this side, which I will trim up as well. So I've got some sage, and this is actually Chinese celery, which you can eat the leaves of. It looks a bit like Italian flat leaf parsley. Tastes like celery, and yeah. And then these beans here, I learned recently that it's the scarlet runner beans that you can actually, once they die back, you can cut them and they resprout. And I don't believe any other bean does that, but let me know if that's not the case. But anyway, they didn't do so well this year because we had quite a wet summer, so I don't think they were particularly happy, but we'll see how they do. And they're in the compost area, so yeah, hopefully they'll come along. But I'm just going to lift this lid off and you'll see how badly this compost needs dealing with. So it's got way too much like kitchen stuff. It needs some, and I've used brown paper bags to line the little compost bucket, which kind of keeps it clean. And also the brown paper bags serve as like a leaf litter alternative, and once they're mixed in and broken, they break down quite well. So I will have to lift this whole bin, not the contents but the frame of it, and put it aside, and then I'll have to dig out the top, put that aside on a tarp, and then remove the bottom, good broken down soil layer. But I think I'm going to keep that for another day. There's a lot of worms. It's like spaghetti in there when I get down there. So I'm going to keep that for another day because that's quite a full-on project in itself. And yeah, so I've got this, just some self-sown mustard greens here. It's kind of a little random, and I have had quite prolific veggie gardens in the past, but with caring for a parent, there's only so much I can do at this time, so I do look forward to having my own decent sort of veggie plot again. But I'm going to show you another area which there is a small little veggie plot, and here's some more beans which are planted in this pot. They do need to be fed quite regularly, which I need to do. So we'll see how those go. And then here is more, actually this is flat leaf parsley actually, and this is the Chinese celery. And then at the back here kind of looks like Swiss chard, silver beet, but it's called perpetual spinach, and it's a cross between spinach and Swiss chard or silver beet depending where you live. And it just keeps coming, and you can see it's quite holy because up here there are a lot of slugs that devour leafy greens. So yeah, it's kind of a tricky one. And I had, see these bamboo frames, I had a net over because there's the white butterfly lays eggs, and then you know those guys chomp everything too. There's some basil which I need to kind of get in and pick some more, so this is sort of coming later in the season. Yeah, the shadow of the bush behind me is sort of shadowing the garden now, but too through the day. More Chinese parsley gone to seed. There's some thyme, tarragon, and rosemary. And again, rosemary. They grow into massive bushes, like 10, 12 feet tall and ridiculous. So I have to keep this well pruned. Anyway, like I said, I think with the compost turning and this bed, I'm going to keep this for another day. So for today, it's just going to be a pruning exercise. So I'm just going to get on with it. very green. I don't know if it will ripen, but I'll put it in the fruit bowl and find out. So now you can see what I've done. I've never owned or pruned a bougainvillea before, or a passion fruit for that matter. I've just never had a vine, so I'm not exactly sure how to prune the vine, but I was just getting rid of a lot of the long tendrils just so they weren't getting out of control, and I'll revisit this maybe when the leaves have gone. But the bougainvillea, the idea here is I wanted to keep it fairly high so that when those branches come with the flowers, it's more of a cascading effect, like sort of coming over and not going too low, because this is actually a turning point with the garage, and with thorns on it, if the hood, the bonnet of the car comes to the fence, the paint could get scratched. That was what I was thinking. So the idea is, it would be sort of this cascade of pink coming over here. It's a sort of a magenta color. They do come in a few different colors, but I was gifted this plant, so this is where it is. And at the base is black or purple, I'm not sure which, mondo grass, which is less vigorous than the green, but it will spread. And the idea of this border here was to hold the dirt in place, because it would just fall through under the fence and then just kind of get on the concrete. So it's working quite well. Bit of weeding to be done, but nothing major. And so that was the idea today. And I think, it's kind of an experiment. I really enjoy pruning. I find it quite meditative, and it's kind of an art form in itself. And I've pruned fruit trees and shrubs and different things, but something like this bougainvillea, they tend to grow how they want, a bit like citrus. They kind of grow in all directions. So yeah, I think, I just realized I missed a piece of a nice big chunk of passion fruit vine, which I will cut out. And then it's cleanup time, which isn't a big deal. I've got an old wool bag which people use for green waste. It's just like a cubic meter kind of bag, which left over from wool baling. And this property is quite small, so there's someone who does the lawns, and they take away the green waste, and that's just how it is. I mean, in my next stage, I will have my own place, and I'll be composting and recycling and trying to be sort of as much on the property as I can be with repurposing, reusing, etc. So maybe I'll give you an update when this thing is flowering in earnest. I hope it works. It looks pretty good for now. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.